welcome to TLDR Week 13. This is the last week of materials for Introduction to Linux. There is a bonus module on GUIs or Graphical User Interfaces, but there is no attached lab. This week, you're going to be working with aliases. The objectives for the week is learning how to create an alias, looking at some of the hidden bash files, and how to modify the user prompt. An alias is another way that we can create a shortcut for commonly used commands. For example, one of the things that you can actually do is if you have a command or a long chain of commands that you use really frequently, something like perhaps if you are doing SSH into the server, you know that you're always going to be doing SSH into the server with the same username and the same server, then it might be worth creating an alias for that. So what you could do is actually create an alias for your SSH, so you had to type something much shorter than the initial thing that you were typing. Now you can actually do this permanently. So if you want this alias to persist after you have logged out, what you can do is add that to the bash RC file. There is a danger here. It is easy to mess up the bash RC file, so I would urge caution. Make sure that you aren't deleting anything, just adding to it. I would also recommend that if you are going to be making any changes to the hidden bash files, make sure that you have backups of all of your labs and seriously consider trying those changes after you've finished everything else, just in case anything goes wrong. Because there are a couple of things that you can change or delete in your hidden bash files that will actually lock you out of the server until I fix it. So you want to make sure that you are relatively careful with them. Now, the hidden bash files, what you can actually do is if you do an ls space -a, that will show you all of the hidden files. A couple of examples of files that you should see is a .bash profile. When you have the dot in front of the file name, that means it's a hidden file. The bash profile runs at the login. It is how the paths are going to be set, if you recall environmental variables from quite a few weeks ago. You can also use this to change what happens at login. A bash history file is the record of all of the commands that you have used. A command prompt is the thing that you see when you first log into your system. It's generally your username at the computer or server, and then the current location. Now that's what I have as the default on the CIS server that you're logging into. However, you can actually change this. The user prompt is one of the environmental variables. So if you do at your command prompt echo space $PS1, that will actually show you the PS1 variable. I encourage you to try it, see what happens. If you want to try changing this, which I also encourage you to try, you would say PS1 equals and then put in whatever new prompt it is that you wanted to try. Let's say you wanted to try your first name. You would do PS1 equals first name, and now your command prompt would actually be your first name. You can make permanent changes by changing your .bash profile. Again, I would like to urge caution. I'm not saying don't do this, but I am saying perhaps do this last just in case anything goes wrong. The assignment for this week is learning how to use aliases and playing a little bit with environmental variables. You are going to try creating an alias to make a tarball. You are also going to try playing with environmental variables. You're going to try playing with the shell variable, and you're going to go into your bash profile and see what it actually ends up saying. Now, in the Blackboard shell, I have some examples of websites that have some potentially useful prompts. Make Tech Easier had several articles on how to make useful prompts. Some things that tend to be popular are showing the last command that you've run. One of the ones I really like is changing color based on the success of the command. So if you have a command that, for example, failed, you could actually have your prompt change color to be, say, red. You could even have it do a little angry emoticon. That's one of the examples from the useful and interesting bash prompts from Make Tech Easier. You can also do things like show directory info or the current date, stuff like that, if those are things that you think would be helpful to you. Please let me know if you have any questions.